We finally made it. Florida week is here. The Crimson Tide jump feet first into SEC play on Saturday, and we're breaking it all down right now, only on Tider Insider TV.
Go inside the Crimson Tide. Tider Insider TV with Rodney Orr and Gary Harris.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome into another edition of Tider Insider TV, presented each and every week by Buffalo Rock. Alongside Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com, I'm Gary Harris. Ice cold Pepsi next again this evening. Go ahead and take a swig there, Rod. Tell me if this is cold enough for you.
It is.
Wow, make you bite your lip.
Put it in the freezer this morning, didn't you?
Well, just this afternoon. Just like I've learned how to time it out just perfectly. About 22 minutes before showtime. I go in there about 6:08, somewhere in that range, or you know, whenever it is. It works out. How about that? It's good and cold. Check out Pepsi next the next time you're at your local grocery store. All right, Rod. Let's start by looking back at this past Saturday's game against Southern Mississippi, 52-12. So you'll take that. Positives, though, and negatives in this one, as is usually the case with any football game that you play.
Yeah, you know, started a little slow. Gary didn't necessarily play that well early on first half, but I think they really obviously picked it up in the second half. You know, you're talking about another 500-plus yard performance offensively. Blake Sims did some really good things, had a good game. What was he, 12 of 17? Had a couple of touchdown throws, and you know, I thought they played much better as the game went along. Kenyon Drake there had 3 touchdowns. So again, a lot of people got involved. Amari Cooper had another good game with 8 receptions.
Well, you know, Rod, Coach said very similar to what you just stated, that the Tide took a little time to warm up, but once they got it going, they played pretty well.
Good week of practice, but it just seemed like the longer we waited to play today, the little more casual everybody got. But I was really proud of the way, you know, our team responded, especially in the second half. I thought we, you know, put together 2 or 3 really good drives to start out the second half. And, you know, defensively, I thought we played well in the game. I just thought that, you know, we gave up a few plays that those are the kind of plays that we're going to need to make in the future that turn out to be sort of explosive plays that we're in pretty good position on, and we need to try to make some of those plays.
And here are some notes from that Southern Mississippi game. Kenyon Drake scored a career-high 3 touchdowns. Blake Sims just keeps right on rolling, playing really consistent football. 3 total scores from him in the game. Amari Cooper leads the nation in receiving. I mean, what can you say? Monster numbers. And Landon Collins with statistically one of the best games of his terrific career. 12 tackles, 6 of them solo from his safety position. So overall, Rod, a good victory. Alabama's right where everybody figured they would be, 3-0. What can the Tide take from this final tune-up game, if you will, against Southern Mississippi into the Florida game?
Well, I think one thing they have to do, Gary, is they have to come ready to play. I mean, you certainly, when you're entering SEC play, I think it's very important, from the opening kickoff, you have to be prepared and ready to play. And, you know, you can't start slow like they did against Southern Miss. You certainly don't want to give Florida an opportunity, you know, to keep staying in the game. You don't want them to build confidence. You're playing them at home, so you have some advantages built in, and you want to take, you know, every opportunity that you have against a team like Florida and make the most of it.
All right, one positive, not just in the Southern Miss game, but really all 3 teams that Alabama's played, Florida, Atlantic, and West Virginia as well. Quick passing games, you know, teams that get the ball out of their hand quick. And, you know, we know Florida does a lot of different things under Kurt Roper, but pretty good preparation schematically, at least for the Gators, these first 3 games.
Yeah, if you look at a lot of Jeff Driscoll's throws, a quarterback for Florida, they've been, you know, short passes. He's completed a lot of those. I think a couple of weeks ago he had 28 attempts in one half. 23 of those were 5 yards, you know, 5 to 6 yard throws. So again, I think you know, that is, Gary, those quick throws, that's what they want to do. Now they do have the ability, Driscoll does, to throw the ball down the field on occasion too. So, and he's also a good runner. The
Alabama offense, you know, no doubt Sims has established himself as the guy who's going to start the game. But against Southern Mississippi, we saw both quarterbacks again, Coker and Sims. And, you know, I know it's an SEC opponent, but offensively, Would you be surprised again on Saturday if both play?
Well, I wouldn't be necessarily surprised. I just don't know how much. I think it depends on how the game kind of unfolds and where we are. And, you know, if Alabama gets a sizable lead, I think, yeah, there's certainly that opportunity. But, you know, I think the way Blake Sims is playing, if he continues to play like that and they're in a rhythm and the game's not necessarily put away, I don't think you would see a change.
Over 500 yards of offense in every game this year, Rodney, so far. A lot of different running backs carrying the ball. In the passing game, though, I know Cooper's terrific, but do you feel like that they need to get more guys involved in the passing game?
Well, I think so, yeah. And, of course, you know, obviously with DeAndre White was hurt early on. He had 6 catches before he went out in that first game, and I know Christian Jones had 4 in this last game. I think they can spread it out. I think that they have guys who have proven themselves in the past, and I think it's going to be important at some time to spread the ball out, and I think they will.
Offensively, Amari Cooper and Austin Shepard say it's important that this Alabama unit continue to improve.
Blake has just been on the money for these past 3 games. He's throwing the ball really accurately, and he's trusting in me. He's trusting in all of us.
I mean, I feel like we still have a ton to work on communication-wise. We still had a couple busts on the offensive line that we have to get out. Obviously, this D-line we're playing is really good, so we have to get it worked out and get the kinks fixed.
And how's this for a good start to the Lane Kiffin era? A school record in offense through 3 games to start a season.
Wow.
Right now this year. A lot of people might not have known that. Alabama has only gone 3 and out twice this season. That is a remarkable statistic.
How about this statistic? Blake Sims has led 21 drives. I'm not talking about it before the halftime drive when they kneel it or just let the clock run out. He's led 21 drives. 15 of those have led to points. 11 of those have led to touchdowns. Now, one of those ended up a fumble at the goal line. That would have been another touchdown.
That is efficiency.
That is.
It really is. Defensively, you know, Alabama statistically is right up there near the top again in the country and in the conference. Jared Williams still out, but you know, still at times seem vulnerable to the big play in the passing game.
Well, and some of those throws too, Gary, I don't know how you can defend them. I mean, you know, some of those sideline throws have been perfectly thrown. You remember the ones against Southern Miss, and I don't know if we're going to show them here in this video, but I mean, they were just, you know, I mean, the guy goes up and makes a play there. That probably could have been contended a little bit better. But, you know, and they do obviously have to improve. And when you get a pass rush like that and big A'Shawn Robinson gets his paw on it, that kind of helps. And I think the pass rush has been better.
It has been, Rodney, and that's something that Dalvin Tomlinson says is a bright spot for the defense. We're affecting the quarterback.
I think we're affecting the quarterback pretty good so far, but it's always, we can improve each and every week. So we still have a long way to go, but I think so far we're affecting the quarterback pretty good.
And as I stated earlier, Alabama at near the top of the national rankings on defense. Landon Collins already having a terrific season at safety, leads Alabama in tackles through 3 games with 27. Well, much more TITV is coming your way. Next, we'll discuss how much the loss of Nick Perry for the first half could hurt the Tide against the Gators. Plus, it was a close call for Florida last weekend. Were they maybe looking ahead to the Tide? We'll break down the Florida game coming up next. And also coming up, we'll be welcoming your phone calls, emails, and tweets. You see the information on the screen on how you can get in touch with us. 205-348-9882. That's 348-WVUA. Email us, TITV@WVUATV.com, or reach out to us on Twitter, hashtag TiderInsiderTV. We'll be right back with the only show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide, the one, the only, Tider Insider TV. It wasn't what most people envisioned. The Kentucky Wildcats had a very good opportunity to knock off the Florida Gators in the Swamp on Saturday night. They missed a field goal, opening the door for Florida in the 3rd overtime, and the Gators took advantage. Florida survives 36-30, a triple overtime scare. The Wildcats still haven't beaten the Gators since 1986. And here's a look at the Gators. The Gators at a glance, if you will. A huge game from wide receiver DeMarcus Robinson. I mean, that is, he had 200 yards against the Wildcats. You see his season numbers. Driscoll's playing very well. Total offense, they have been lighting it up. And Driscoll and Robinson, a dynamite combination. So Florida, dangerous offensively under first-year offensive coordinator Kurt Roper coming into this game, Rodney. They do a lot of things.
And I think they've got Jeff Driscoll in a system, Gary, that fits him. He really hasn't been in that. He's not really a pro-style quarterback. He's more this, spread offense. I think it fits him well in the things they have him doing. And you talk about Demarcus Robinson. You saw he had 21 catches. 15 of those were against Florida. And he had a couple of touchdowns. And, you look at them, you talk about spreading the ball around. No receiver had more than 2 catches in that game except for Robinson.
Yeah.
So they really haven't necessarily spread it around either.
15 for Robinson for Florida against Kentucky, and the Tide will be looking to shut him down. Of course, Florida will be looking to do the same to Amari Cooper, so interesting dynamic there. All right, Nick Saban now on the first SEC game of the season. We're going to hear from the coach in a moment. Your thoughts, though, on where this Alabama team is at going into this game?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of questions still to be answered, Gary. Again, we talked about it being a very young team, a team that was inexperienced in a lot of spots, and I still think they have a lot to prove. I mean, we've talked about the secondary and see how they come around, and now I think what kind of is going to be interesting with guys out, Nick Perry out with that targeting hit he delivered the other night, so he'll be out for the first half, so the secondary is going to kind of be shuffled around a little bit, and it's going to be interesting to see how they defend Florida. And on the offensive side, I think the offensive line so far has played better. I think you couldn't ask for much more from Blake Sims. And, obviously Amari Cooper's having that, sensational start. So, again, I think as we move into SEC play, there's still some questions that are going to have to be answered. And this team is a team that, as we've talked about, is going to have to develop as they go along. And, we'll find out more about them on Saturday night.
All right, here's Saban talking about opening up SEC play against the Gators.
Games like this, players really get excited. If they don't understand Alabama football and they don't understand playing in the SEC. But I think we got enough guys on our team that really understand that, so I don't think that should be an issue.
A look at the tail of the tape. The Gators and Tide, pretty lofty statistics so far, but again, neither team has played as good an opponent as they will face on Saturday. So we'll see, which one of these teams has got the real mettle to get it done in SEC play, at least for the first game. And remember, the Florida Gators might have been ugly, but they are 1-0 in the SEC. They've got a conference win under their belt. Of course, their first game this season against Idaho was canceled because of severe weather, so they've only played 2 games. Well, one big piece of the Tide secondary, Rodney, as we mentioned, will be missing at least for the first half against Florida. Nick Perry. Perry was ejected from the Southern Mississippi game on a targeting foul. It's a good call. And by rule, he's also suspended for the first half of the next game. And Jarrett Williams is already out. That means a couple of fifth-year seniors not available for the first half. Williams for the entire game. That puts a little bit of a hole in the Tide secondary.
Yeah. I think Alabama intends on playing a lot of nickel in this game. I think that's what they'll mostly be in. Florida uses their tight end a lot, so that getting him involved, that means Alabama being mostly in the nickel, I think. And with that said, you're probably going to slip Geno Smith back to safety. I think that means that possibly Maurice Smith, the young sophomore, will be at the star position, and obviously you'll have the 2 corners out there. And who will they be? Will they be Eddie Jackson and Cyrus Jones? Don't know. Eddie was practicing today, going through drills, but when they lined up, when the media viewing period, it was Tony Brown that lined up in his spot at corner.
All right, this afternoon we had an opportunity to speak with the leader of that Alabama defense, Trey DePriest, about how missing Perry will affect Alabama against the Florida offense.
It's a tough loss for Nick, and I feel bad for him, but it is what it is. It's not like he's missing the whole game, thank God, but I'm confident in our guys that whoever goes in for him will be able to get the job done.
Here's a closer look at the Alabama pass defense, and you can see they've had a few issues. Those numbers not as high as the Tide defensive coaches would like them to be. Well, more coming up on Tider Insider TV, including Alabama players giving us their thoughts on finally getting into SEC play. And next, we'll be welcoming your phone calls, emails, and tweets. Again, you see the information on the screen, 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. Email us or reach out to us on Twitter as well. We'll be right back with more Tider Insider Television presented by Buffalo Rock. Stay with us.
I love it. This is what I came here to do. It's awesome going against Florida, LSU, Auburn. It's just different. Great players, great atmosphere. The stadium's going to be rocking. I just love every bit of it.
Austin Shepard talking about how you get a little more pumped up 4 games in the Southeastern Conference. All right, Rodney, it's time to head to the Med Center hotline. First up tonight, our buddy John Max from Cordova. Hey, John Max, what's on your mind?
My question is what do we have to do to stop Florida's running game?
Well, it starts with tackling well. You know, you want to try to get through the gaps and hit those guys and get them on the ground. Everything in the running game starts with getting off blocks and making tackles.
Yeah, Matt Jones is a good running back. He had 156 yards against Kentucky, really ran strong between the tackles. So Alabama in the middle is going to have to really play strong with A'Shawn Robinson, Jaron Reed, and those guys, and Trey Dupree stepping up. So I think that's just what Gary said. They've got to play very strong, tough in the middle, and kind of slow that attack down because they do hit that.
Yeah.
And then they've also got Kelvin Taylor, who's an outstanding prospect, a player. You remember him? Alabama recruited him a few years ago. So they've got a good 1-2 punch.
All right, let's stay here in Tuscaloosa and talk to J.K. J.K., what's going on?
Hey, not much, man. How y'all doing tonight?
Very well.
I appreciate you taking my call. I've got a question about Christian Kirk, a wide receiver that Rodney's featured on Tighter Insider a couple of times, and that looks like an outstanding athlete to me, man.
Out of Arizona, Rodney, and as J.K. said, you featured him. We can't really get into specifics on where he might go to school, but what kind of player is he?
Yeah, he reminds me a little bit of Tyrone Prothro when you look at him. He's a very versatile player. I mean, he can return kicks and, that type of thing, and he's really a big-time playmaking type kid. But we really, as you said, don't want to talk too much about it, but I think he'll end up elsewhere.
We'll keep an eye on him, though, that's for sure. All right, got a tweet coming in to us, Rod, and let's take a look at this one from Shane Dowdle. Will T.J. Yeldon be healthy enough to play against Florida? Shane, I think he will be. I mean, I think that not playing him in the second half is more precautionary than anything else. In fact, Rodney, I think all these running backs have been splitting carries. I think the running game is going to have a big night on Saturday. I really do. I think that they got a lot of talent, as we know. I'd almost say they've been holding back. Nobody holds back on purpose, but you know what I mean. They've been limiting those guys. I think they're focused. I think they're ready to bust out.
And I think they've been doing a lot of different things. They've been working on different things, trying to figure out where they are with, everything offensively. And I think Gary's right. I think when you talk about Alabama, you think about on offense the running game, and they have those running backs. And I think they want to continue to develop that offensive line and allow it to kind of take over football games because that's Alabama's style. And I think that's probably we're going to see a lot of that on Saturday.
Yeah, and we do expect to see Yeldon in the game and getting the start against Florida on Saturday. All right, more to come on TITV. Coming up, we'll take a closer look at the last time Tide and the Gators hooked up, and also more of your phone calls, emails, and tweets. Jot down the information there and get in touch with us. We've got some phone lines open, so we'll be right back with more of your calls here on Tighter Insider Television.
Just growing up as a kid, wanting to face the Gators. So, yeah, I'm pretty excited about this game.
Dalvin Tomlinson, a Georgia boy. Yeah. So, like he said, he grew up wanting to face the Florida team, and he'll get his chance on Saturday afternoon. Let's go back to the Med Center hotline and talk with Charles in Sylacauga. Hey, Charles, what's up? Charles, you with us? All right, do we have Charles' question that we can take a look at? All right, what's to know about Marlon Humphrey and Tony Brown? Brown, of course, we've seen, might even see him possibly starting on Saturday. Humphrey, we've yet to see at the cornerback position.
And, who knows? Can't really answer whether or not he'll play. We'll kind of have to wait and see. We're kind of getting to that point in the season where if you don't play as a freshman, usually that means a red shirt. We're getting close to that. So, we'll see. But as far as Tony Brown's concerned, you mentioned that he has played a lot in the second half when Eddie went out with that quad bruise the other night, Eddie Jackson. So, interesting, and we'll see how much Tony plays this Saturday.
All right, let's go across the Black Warrior River into Northport and talk with Bama Jack. Hey, Bama Jack, what's going on?
Yeah, I like your and Rodney's opinion on my assertion of we're lacking that beast on defense. We don't have that alpha male, if you will, out there for somebody to follow. What do y'all think about that? I think we're missing the beast on defense. What do y'all think, like a CJ or Marcel Darius?
Yeah, Bama Jack, you make a good point. Alabama has had a history of having dominant individual defensive players, and this year it's a good, solid team, a lot of highly recruited players. You might be right. Probably the most dynamic player, I would say, is Landon Collins, who's a safety. Trey Dupree is solid as an inside linebacker, but maybe they don't have that charismatic off-the-edge pass rusher, guy who blows you up. Now, there's some guys that have that potential, Rodney, but And you don't have to have those kind of players to have a good defense. It's more about team defense. But I would kind of agree with that assertion right now that they don't have a Cornelius Bennett, Derek Thomas, Keith McCants, Rolando McClain type guy.
Well, we talked about that quite a bit in our snippets that we did leading up to the season, that this defense was young, it was inexperienced in a lot of spots. There weren't the Rolando McClains, the Dante Hightowers, the Courtney Upshaws, the C.J. Mosleys, and all those guys out there. So you're exactly right, Jack, or at least I would agree with you that you're right. And, you know, but a lot of those guys are young. You have to allow opportunity to develop. And I think when you look at it in some of the younger classes, there's some guys with a lot of potential that could become those types of players.
All right, Cody, real quickly, we're up against the clock. What you got for us?
I was going to see did y'all think Blake Sims a good quarterback?
Yeah, I do. I think so far, you know, again, it's 3 games. It's still a relatively small sample. They haven't played an SEC team, but I think Blake Sims has done everything they've asked him to do. I think he's played very well.
Yeah, he's done a phenomenal job. I mean, he's completed, what, 60-some-odd% of his pass. It was over 70 last week, so I'm sure he's right around 70% of his passes. He's done an outstanding job.
Yeah, in the top 10 in the country in passing efficiency. Next on the show, we go back to 2011 in the Swamp. That's the last time the Tide and the Gators met on the gridiron. Plus, we'll give you our game picks for this one, maybe closer than some people expect. Find out next on Tide or Insider TV. A great shot of Bryant-Denny Stadium right there for you as we go to the break. ...2011, the last time these two clubs got together down in the Swamp. Hey, Brantley went deep to DuBose early on. Florida was all pumped up, but it was fool's gold as the Tide and that big-time defense they had in 2011 and Trent Richardson in the run game, they pounded Florida 38-10 and, of course, went on to win the national championship. All right, Rodney, time to make some game picks, the Gators and the Tide. And there you see, hey, we're almost identical.
Hey,
I think Florida's a good team. I think they're going to hang around, but I like the Tide, and you do too.
Yeah, I think Florida's improved, like you said, Gary, but I don't think there's any doubt that Alabama's a better team right now.
I do like those pictures. I need an 8x10 of that one. Of me.
You've handed them out to every restaurant, so come on.
All right, if you missed any of tonight's show, you can catch it on a replay tonight at 10:30, also at our website, WVUATV.com. As always, I want to thank the Locker Room, home of the original elephant wear, right here in Tuscaloosa, Tuscaloosa tradition since 1964. Check them out and get you some nice shirts like Rodney and I have on tonight. That's going to do it for TITV. For Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris. Thanks for watching. Good night, everybody.